Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anita Ramasastry. I am a member of the United Nations Working Group on Business and Human Rights. It has been my pleasure over the past few years to work actively with the Japan Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as well as with Japanese civil society and the business community during the development of the National Action Plan on Business and Human Rights. What I would like to convey today is the importance of Japan's continued engagement on business and human rights. The National Action Plan is not the end, but it is the beginning of a strong commitment to responsible business conduct. Well, the key message is that the UN Guiding Principles, after nearly 10 years, is the most important and internationally recognized framework for business and human rights. What the Guiding Principles ask and the Japanese National Action Plan asks is for business to respect human rights and to respect the dignity of people all over the world in their business operations. This means doing no harm. But what does that actually mean in practice? The concept that is very important in the UN Guiding Principles is the concept of human rights due diligence. When we talk about human rights due diligence, we mean that businesses need to have a policy and commitment to respect for international human rights as part of their business policy and strategy, and then they need to actually know and show that commitment through human rights due diligence. This means actually using what we call as impact assessments and consultations with stakeholders, workers, civil society groups, communities affected by business activity, locally, so employees, for example, as well as globally when we think about workers in a supply chain. This is not about risks to the company, it is about risks to the people that are impacted by business. And once those risks or harms are identified, companies are asked to actively take steps to prevent, to mitigate, meaning to really just to stop, and to provide remedy to those affected by those harms. This is very important. So what we have seen during the pandemic is that those companies that have used the guiding principles as a tool to anticipate harm, to figure out what are the things that may happen if there is a crisis, have been in a better position to prevent that harm in their supply chains and in their business operations. So responsible, resilient business that will be long-lasting needs to take into account business and human rights. A second point I want to make is, of course, that we have all made commitments, all of our governments, to the Sustainable Development Goals, and of course Japan has. Agenda 2030 is very important for us all. This is about what we call the future we want, a sustainable future that protects people and the planet. We believe, the working group that is, that the guiding principles are foundational to sustainable development, that by identifying harms in the workplace, for example, by thinking about child labor in a supply chain or thinking about gender discrimination at work, if a company identifies those issues and fixes them, they have contributed to the Sustainable Development Goals. So the guiding principles are something that really helps companies meet their own commitments to the SDGs, and this is very important as well. So I hope as we all begin this journey that the Japanese government will continue to actively support business and encourage them to respect human rights, and also provide them with support, guidance, and tools in order to do this. Equally, I hope that civil society will be actively encouraged to be a partner and be invited to the table, because their voices and experiences will help business and government to understand what are those impacts that are being experienced by rights holders. So the National Action Plan is an important social contract. It's a partnership, but it will require everyone, civil society, unions and workers, government and business, to work together for that sustainable future that we want. Thank you again, and congratulations to Japan.